Comparison of two films. In this post I'm going to be comparing two films, identifying the similarities and differences which are apparent in all aspects of the two. The two films which I will be comparing are Jaws and Skyfall. I chose to compare these two films as I feel that they will boast several similarities whilst also containing numerous aspects which will provide stark contrast when compared to one another. Firstly, the overarching storyline of both films can be compared in order to identify both similarities and differences. Skyfall is now the penultimate edition of the James Bond series following the recent release of Spectre. The 2012 film conforms to the conventions of Bond films, which have been set as a precedent by the large quantity and sustained continuity of certain aspects of the films, including Bond girls, weaponry and action. In terms of the actual plot, Skyfall fails to offer the audience much variation from the storyline of all of the previous Bond films, as Bond is yet again faced with a problem which he has to solve with the assistance of MI6 and some very high-tech weaponry and gadgets. Along with an intimate meeting with a new Bond girl, David Craig has to resolve the problem posed by eccentric antagonist Raoul Silva. In contrast, the plot of Jaws, despite displaying several similarities, also provides stark contrast to that of Skyfall. Firstly, the storyline of Jaws consists of a shark attack which poses a serious threat to a coastal community in the US. After witnessing this, the main character, along with a fisherman and a marine biologist, set out to defeat the shark and eradicate this threat from the community. The film depicts the story of the main character's attempts to defeat the shark, which occur with varying degrees of success. The film ultimately results in the shark being destroyed after an oxygen cylinder, which has been wedged in the mouth of the shark, explodes after being shot, obliterating the shark. Despite the obvious differences, such as the fact that the antagonist is a shark and not a human, the idea of the prime protagonist attempting to eradicate the threat of the antagonist is very similar to that of Skyfall. Moreover, another aspect which can easily be compared is the setting and location of the film. Skyfall is mainly set in two different locations. Part of the film is set in the urban city of London, and the other part is set in a more rural countryside location. In contrast, Jaws is set in the fictional US coastal city of Amity, Long Island, and New York City. Also, part of the film is obviously filmed at sea, so this allows for scenes which include the shark to seem more realistic and also creates a degree of trepidation as the protagonist is portrayed as isolated. The setting of these two films therefore provide an insight into just some of the various locations in which thriller films can be set, as well as also introducing the idea of a film being set in more than one location, which may strongly contrast each other. Furthermore, the use of characters and their designated roles within the films is something which can be contrasted, perhaps in order to provide us with the inspiration for our film. In Skyfall, the main character is protagonist James Bond, who, despite the act of changing quite frequently, has remained a constant in all of the films in the series, always wearing similar costume and using similar vocabulary. The main antagonist in the film is called Raoul Silva, an eccentric character with an evil plan to take over the world. This character keeps strongly in line with conventional antagonists in the James Bond series. In comparison, the characters used in Jaws vary quite considerably to those of Skyfall. Although the actual character roles, for example the protagonist and antagonist, remain the same, the specific characters and their reputations within the film differ quite considerably. For example, in Jaws the antagonist is effectively a shark. In conclusion, I would say that there are several similarities between the two thriller films, as well as several major differences. The differences most notably refer to the plot and main storyline, whilst the similarities often concern types of characters, etc.